herb buckets out here outside of my garden gate. And inside, there's some not planted areas, some blueberry and raspberry. There's some pak choi down there. My magnificent rose that has so many buds on it. So that is going to be really exciting soon. And I have a bunch of my herbs down here, rosemary and oregano and thyme and chives and some parsley back around the corner and a bird that's trying to get back to its house. We've got little pumpkins in their nests and some flashy troutback lettuce and some other lettuce and broccoli rabe over here in a nice little grid, and a whole bunch of onions. And then I'll be putting squash in that section as well in the gridded areas. All of the tomatoes will go along the back, and I have peppers, green peppers and sweet peppers for at the ends of each section. So that is the vegetable patch. Up in this section of the yard is really like our lounge space. So we have our very big maple tree and a hammock area, and it's where the dog hangs out. And we have some chairs to sit near, and I got this birch tree last fall and put that in, and we will be extending it to add our pool coming soon. So we have like a hot mess going on in the yard right now, but that's okay because you got to be a dreamer. And I have just some lilies and very dog friendly things in this area, and a few planters so she can't get into things, and so I can move things around as the area develops. I have a viburnum, and in this I have a birthday hibiscus that I received from my buddy, and that's a work in progress. The gaura don't look very hot right now, but hopefully in the future they will perk up, and I have to decide what to put in the front there. I haven't completed that thought. And then I have my dog who's being a bad butt and digging in all the soil, and I got these terracotta pots for my birthday. So I will be planting those up, and I have a whole plan. I've kind of leveled them and tucked a few rocks in amongst them to make sort of like a little focal area in that corner. And I really like using rocks to create a natural vibe in our yard, and we just kind of dig these up when we make all of these various pits that we love to make in our yard. And then on this side, it's just kind of more open and airy and very dog friendly. There's her little water dish with like lilies and things. So we have this really gorgeous large rock, and there's a salvia behind it. So I can't wait till that kind of fills in and nestles in this little spot. And then I moved my very large sage bush over here, which I think will be stunning. And then you go out of the gate. This is the front garden as you pull into our driveway. And it has my very pretty kind of like Hershey Kiss shaped boxwood on either side of the fence, and a bird bath, and just a few. This is more of like perennials in here, and then I have just like a planter there that's kind of filling in a hole from something that had to be moved. And these will be gaura growing up in here, and then just a few leftover pansies that I took out of my pots until the gaura sort of fill in and create this really ethereal flower section that's still open, so you can still see all of the bushes. I'm really trying to hold myself back a little bit more going forward so you can see through some things and it's not so overcrowded, but it's hard to say no. And then I have some just like random Mother's Day roses in little planters up front, kind of creating this vignette here. And then over at the edge of our patio area, I have these planters with some Wyoming gold canna, which I'm excited to see what they look like this year, and kind of doing yellow and tropical things, and this honey petunia, so I'll be excited to see what that looks like. Salvia, nasturtiums, marigolds, and they are the same on either side. And then I have lots to plant out front of the door here. There's my newly painted door. And I have lots of plans. I sketched it all out, so that's fun. I have a foxtail fern in here, and there's more nasturtiums. I'm going big on the nasturtiums this year. Some heuchera, polka dot plant, and petunia, so I'll be excited to see how that fills in. And I really love using things like driftwood to kind of fill in too, and I love incorporating those other elements of nature into my planting. As you can see over here, I dug that tree out of my yard and popped it in a planter. So there you go, you can't get any cheaper than that. And I added a bunch of rocks to the bottom. I pick stuff like this up from the hardware store, but also I love to collect rocks, and then you can add them to your arrangements. And some of these are from Lake Erie when we take trips up there. And then a painted bench. And again, I have to plant in this area, my grouping, but I have another hibiscus that I bought, and these really fun kind of bleached out looking petunias that my kids chose, which I think are really fun. And when I went back to get more, they had none, so I'll have to do a new plan to make things match. I have an additional extra like low level planter. I was gonna put that near the pool, but who knows when we'll get that done. So this needs terribly weeded, but I have my canna bulbs in there, and I will be putting petunias and another hibiscus on the ends of those, so they'll both match. And we got so many beautiful hummingbirds last year. I can't wait to do that again. It was really fun to see all the hummingbirds come through. And then I just planted up this little pedestal planter that I have here. I have a Gerbera daisy in it, this beautiful yellow, ornamental millet, alyssum, another salvia, and more nasturtiums. So I'm just going, kind of repeating a lot of the plants in my planters this year, because I did a lot of research to make sure they would be little puppy safe. So that's what I'm working with, puppy safe items this year. And here is my little planted container arrangement, the camp arrangement that I made the other week, and I did post about that on the Rue de Fleurs blog if you want more information on that. I have this cart that's kind of blocking some uglies on our patio that needs to be filled in, and that'll have a lot of kind of house plants that are going to summer outdoors. I like having sort of those temporary arrangements too. So then we swing over to the boardwalk and the rock garden area. So over here again, you see like really big, beautiful rocks that we have placed. And in here I have more agara toward the back, little succulents in front of the window. And there are a whole bunch of baby zinnias. So this is where I love to put in my whole zinnia garden, and you get so many butterflies when you cluster them together like that. And then here is our rock garden that we just put in last year. I love how it came out. There's a mix of succulents and grasses and catmint and a little bit of morgara over there in the back, and some unknown plant that I don't know what that guy is, but it's really pretty. And I love how the grasses sway in the breeze, and there's the play of texture with the hard rocks and a lot of these very full and bountiful plants over here. I mean, doesn't that just make your heart happy? And leaving that section and kind of walking toward the front of our house is kind of more of a utility area. So there is our heat pump, and that is my workroom. And then we have Iris, and this is sort of like more of a catch-all bed where I have just different things we didn't even used to come around this side of the house. But now that our boardwalk and fire pit are over here, we see it a lot more. So I've been working on filling this out. I have some hens and chicks down there. Can't remember what that is. Some sedum, a nandina that'll get nice and tall and kind of fill in that space, and more lilies, and some ice plant, some trailing ice plant, which they just get really beautiful and fill in to an amazing carpet. Really worth every penny on those. And then down out front here, I have more zinnias and a few iris planted and a couple of lilies toward the back. So this will be a whole other strip of zinnias. I've done this before and they're just amazing. And then at the front of the house, I have a wildflower garden, which I needed to pick the hose up out of, but I had just planted new grass across the front, so you know how that goes. It's not so much fun to pick up hoses, so put it off. But have this beautiful nepeta or catmint there. Again, like a leftover Mother's Day rose in a bucket. Really fun. And all of these beautiful wildflowers. So there's calendula and bachelor's buttons and cosmos and sunflowers and zinnias and all kinds of things. I can't wait to see what comes up. And again, like the butterflies and the pollinators love it out here. I love having a little bit of wild, and I need to work on fixing up the pavers out here, making this nicer, but it's fun to have projects. And then this is a little bit more my formal area in the front of our house, and I have all of these beautiful burgundy petunias planted across the front. Again, petunias are dog friendly, so that's nice to know, because they're really great performing annuals. So I'm going with burgundy, and then I have this red grasses. I have 2 of those, so there's one down on that end, and then I have 3 phenomenal lavenders. That's what they're called, and that also is very true to how they perform. I have some canna woven in through the lavenders, as well as some verbena, which is not dog safe, but she doesn't come out here unsupervised, and it's toward the back, so I think that will be fine. And then I have this planter that has a clematis and some lilies in it, and then we are coming back around the other side of the house. There's a lemon arborvitae, that's what it is, and having lilies, and so I have a piece of sculpture in there and some pots, a hydrangea in the back, and a white rose, a David Austin rose, and a white clematis, and snapdragons all across the front. That'll be really pretty. And then on this side, there's a big collection of iris and some more salvia in white, purple, and maroon. Another lavender. I'm a big lavender fan, and my husband wonderfully blew all of his weed whacking into my garden, so I have a little bit of work to do. There are these dill, which now come up kind of like weeds, but I think that's fun, allowing just some spontaneity in the garden. And I love how that changes over time. And then in this section, again, I have Gara. I'm going to be working on the wall, so a lot of this will be dug up and replanted. And I plan to put nasturtiums along the front, the Gara, and as well as some volunteer echinacea, and then toward the back I have planted a whole bunch of canabulbs, so we'll see how they do. And then we are back at the beginning. Oh, there's this little section over here that's kind of my daughter's space, but this year we are putting more nasturtiums in it and some little funky sculptures. So I hope you enjoyed the happy hour garden tour.